Alrighty, guys, we're currently hitting at 77% our last 14 board member tier package plays on my website. And before we get into some more of that, just want to take a quick time out and welcome you to our college basketball video here today for Sunday, February 19th, 2023. My name is Brock Page. I've been doing sports picks for free on YouTube since 2016. I also sell my personal sports bets on patreon.com/BrockPage. And once again, guys, I'm hitting at 77% my last 14 board member tier package plays on that site. Now, the all-inclusive board member package gives you access to every single personal play, every single package, every single day for the next 30 days. And as an added bonus, guys, you're also going to get access to my board member podcast as well. The math works out to be just $1.66 a day to be a board member. It's cheaper than your daily cup of coffee. Most other handicappers, they're going to charge a couple $100 just for a day or two of service. Now, you may be wondering what the difference is between what I do here on YouTube and what I do on my website. Well, what I do here on YouTube is I'll handicap the entire slate of games in any given sport, side and total. And what I do on my website is I actually share with you which one of these free picks on these videos that I'm actually betting on personally. Now, I currently have over 550 members who are signed up and active on my website right now. With that, guys, let's go ahead and dive into some free content. We're going to take a look at Ohio State at Purdue, 1 o'clock East. Purdue's minus 12, totals 139. As much as Purdue struggled recently, they're facing an Ohio State team who's been horrible over the past month or so. The Buckeyes lost their last 7 straight, and they simply cannot beat their Big Ten opponents. Out of 15 conference ball games this year, the Buckeyes got the W only 3 times. And most of that is due to some bad defensive play. The Buckeyes are giving up over 75 points per contest in their travels. They're also one of the worst defensive rebounding teams on the road in the Big Ten. They're facing a Purdue squad on the other side who's one of the best rebounding teams in the country themselves. As a matter of fact, the Boilermakers are grabbing more defensive boards per contest than any other team in college basketball. 7'4" center Zach Edey, he grabs nearly 13 rebounds a night. He also leads the team in scoring. His 22 points a game and 12.8 rebounds per contest both rank in the top 10 in the NCAA. Meanwhile, Braden Smith averages double-digit points a game, and he also knocks down nearly 42% of his shots from downtown. And when these guys play at home, Purdue's currently 12-1 straight up in the Mackey Arena. Now, total-wise, 5 out of Purdue's last 7 did get over the number. They also saw 6 out of their last 10 meetings with Ohio State get over the line as well. Now, Ohio State saw overs recently against the likes of Iowa, Michigan, and Indiana. I'm going to lean toward Purdue minus 12 over 139. Next matchup, it is going to be Georgetown, Butler, 3 o'clock East. Butler's minus 5, totals 138. And even though Butler struggled offensively this year, Georgetown is yet to record a road win on the season. The Hoyas are 0-10 while traveling. They're giving up 83 points per contest in those games. And even worse than that, Georgetown's letting their opponents make 42% of their three-pointers against them in their travels. They're facing a Butler team who's 10-4 at home this year, and they covered the point spread in 60% of those home contests. When it comes to defensive play, the Bulldogs allowed just 66 points a game in the Hinkle Fieldhouse. Simas Lokushis has 23 steals on the year. He also drills 41% of his long balls. When it comes to offensive production, Jaden Taylor's averaging over 12.5 points a game himself. Now, injury-wise, Bates, Malloy, and Ali are all questionable for Butler. Meanwhile, for Georgetown, Wahab and Bass are questionable for them. When it comes to the total, Georgetown's gone 80% to the over in all of their road games. They also allowed over 70 points per contest in their last 10 meetings with Butler. So if you're into historical trends, certainly want to think about that one there. I'm going to lean toward Butler minus 5 over 138. Next matchup, it is going to be Memphis at Houston, 3 o'clock Eastern tip-off. The Houston Cougars are minus 13.5, totals 141 and a hook. And as good as Houston's been this year, this is a mighty big number to cover in a conference game. Matter of fact, the Cougs failed to cover in 8 out of their last 10 meetings with Memphis. They were also held to just 69 points a game during that span. As far as this year is concerned, the Cougs have struggled shooting from the foul line, especially at home. Houston's making just 69% of their free throws in the Fertitta Center. Now, when it comes to covering the point spread, Houston did fail to cover in 4 out of their last 6 conference ball games at home. They're facing a Memphis squad who's 10-3 in conference play, and they definitely won a lot of ball games recently themselves. Out of Memphis's last 9 contests, they got the outright W 8 times. DeAndre Williams, he has 23 blocks on the season defensively, along with 36 steals. Now, the forward's also averaging over 17 points a game. Meanwhile, Keontae Kennedy, he's drilling nearly 40% of his long balls. Now, injury-wise, leading scorer Kendrick Davis, he's questionable for the Tigers. That's why you're seeing such a high number. When it comes to the total, 7 out of Memphis's last 10 meetings with Houston did stay under the number. So once again, if you're into historical trends, plenty of unders to go around. Now, they also saw unders more recently against the likes of Central Florida, Tulsa, and Cincy. Meanwhile, Houston, on the other side, they've gone 60% to the under this year in the Fertitta Center. I'm going to lean toward Memphis plus 13.5, under 141 and a hook. Next ball game, it is going to be Maryland, Nebraska, 5 o'clock East. The Maryland Terrapins are -5 on the road, totals 134. Now, this could be a big letdown spot for the Terps on the road. They're coming fresh off a shocking 14-point victory over arguably the best team in the country in Purdue. That was earlier this week. Now, they do have to face a Nebraska team who's easy to overlook. You just got to keep in mind, Nebraska's played really good at home this year. The Cornhuskers have a .750 win percentage in their own building, and they're also limiting their competition to just 40% shooting from the field in that arena. So these guys pretty tough defensively at home. Derek Walker has 12 blocks on the season and over 15 steals. Now, Walker also leads the roster in scoring. And Casey Tominaga, he's scoring over 12 points a game himself. And he's also drilling nearly 41% of his three-pointers. So Tominaga, he's been a legit deep ball threat. Now, they're facing a Maryland team on the other side who, once again, I think they're in a vulnerable spot right now. They did already lose 6 of 7 conference ball games on the road. When it comes to offensive production, these guys are averaging only 67 points a game away from the Xfinity Center. Now, total-wise, Maryland's seen all 8 of their road games this year stay under the number. Meanwhile, Nebraska's 75% to the under on their home court. I'm going to lean toward Nebraska +5, keeping that one close, under 134. Next game, we're going to stay in Big Ten action. I'm talking about Iowa at Northwestern, 6:30 p.m. East. Iowa's -1.5, totals 146. And as good as these guys are at scoring points, the Hawkeyes actually are not doing enough offensively on the road, believe it or not. They're scoring only 69 points a game in their travels, and they've been pretty bad shooting the basketball. Iowa's barely making 40% of their field goals on the road this year. They're also making just 29% of their three-pointers while traveling. They're facing a Northwestern team who's got 12 wins already in the Welsh Ryan Arena. The Wildcats are also very tough to score against in Evanston. These guys allow just 58 points a game at home, and they're limiting their competition to just 37% shooting from the field there. Chase Audige, he has nearly 20 blocks on the season and well over 60 steals. Now, Chase is also second on the roster in points. Meanwhile, teammate Boo Buie, he's averaging nearly 17 points per contest himself. That's a team high. Now, total-wise, Northwestern is 11-5 to the under in front of their own crowd. Meanwhile, Iowa saw unders against the likes of Minnesota, Michigan State, and Maryland. I'm going to lean toward Northwestern +1.5, under 146. Next game, it is going to be Oregon taking on Washington State, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Now, Wazoo is the 1-point favorite at home, totals 134.5. Now, both teams do have some solid qualities that make this game very tough to handicap. Now, for Washington State, they're winning 75% of their home games, and they've been very good defensively in their own arena. Meanwhile, Oregon's beaten the likes of USC, Arizona State, and Utah recently themselves. Now, they also garnered an outright win over Arizona back in the middle of January. When it comes to the total in this one, we do have some conflicting data that kind of makes it tough to make a play there as well. Oregon went 60% to the over in their last 10. But Washington State, on the other side, they went 6-3 to the under in their last 9 conference home games. So once again, some conflicting data there. Really tough game to handicap. So if you want to see whether I'm making a play on the side or the total in this one, there's only one way to find out, and that's to sign up for my full access, all-inclusive board member package that's on my website. This game is being featured as my board member tier package bet itself. But once again, guys, we're hitting at 77% in our last 14 plays in that package. And not only do board members get access to the board member tier package bet itself, they also get access to every single personal bet, every single package, every single day for the next 30 days. The math works out to be just $1.66 a day. That's cheaper than your daily cup of coffee. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final breakdown for the video. It is going to be UNLV taking on Boise State, and that'll be a 9 o'clock Eastern start time. The Boise State Broncos are minus 6.5, totals 140 and a hook. Now, Boise State's been impossible to score against in their own building. They're in the top 20 in defensive points per game. They're also in the top 15 in guarding the three-pointer. These guys allow just 58 points a game in the extra mile arena. Now, they're also one of the best defensive rebounding teams in the entire country. Marcus Shaver grabs over 6 rebounds a night, and he's also ranking second on the team in scoring. Now, teammate Max Rice, he's scoring over 13 points per contest himself, and he's drilling nearly 42% of his three-pointers. Rice, definitely a long ball threat. Now, they're facing a UNLV team on the other side who's had a tough time with the Mountain West this year. The Rebels have lost 9 of 14 against conference opponents. They're also allowing nearly 75 points a game in their travels. Now, when it comes to the injury report, Rodriguez is questionable for the Rebels. Parquette is out. When it comes to the total, Boise State saw unders in 4 out of their last 6 ball games, unders against the likes of Wyoming, San Diego State, and Air Force. I'm going to lean toward Boise State minus 6.5, under 140 and a hook. And with that, guys, we're going to go ahead and jump into our quick pick recap. I like the over 137 in the Cincinnati-UCF game. Give me IUPUI plus 16 over 150.5. I like Purdue minus 12 over 139. One final reminder, guys, we're now hitting at 77% in our last 14 board member tier package bets on my website. I like the over 151 in the UNC-NC State game. Give me St. Bonaventure minus 4 over 143. St. Peter's plus 11 under 133. Quinnipiac minus 3 over 140.5. CANISIUS plus 3 under 139. Niagara minus 2.5 under 126 and a hook. Fairfield minus 4 under 130. Temple minus 13 over 143. PFW plus 3 over 152. Southern Illinois plus 2 over 127. East Carolina plus 7 over 142. Memphis plus 13.5 under 141 and a hook. Charleston Southern minus 13 over 134. Illinois Chicago minus 1.5 under 142. Butler minus 5 over 138. Cleveland State minus 2 over 128. BELLARM minus 8 over 145. Drake minus 6 over 145.5. Nebraska plus 5 under 134. Furman minus 13 over 144. Northwestern plus 1.5 under 146. Now, I have no free pick available in the Oregon-Washington game. With my next and final free pick, give me Boise State minus 6.5 under 140 and a hook. And with that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on my website. If you guys do end up getting my board member package here today, just keep in mind you're going to get access to that content for the next 30 days. And as an added bonus here, guys, you're also going to get access to my board member podcast every single day as well. The math works out to be just $1.66 a day. It's cheaper than your daily cup of coffee. Once again, board members get access to every single personal bet, every single package, every single day for the next 30 days. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube or TikTok. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, guys, happy Sunday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.